Good morning, students. I'm Dr. Jyoti KB, Assistant Professor, Government First Grade College, Kubi. In the previous session of Dylan Thomas's poem, Do Not Go Gentle into That Night, we have understood that the poem is an encouragement done by a son to his father who's on the deathbed. He encourages his father to struggle against death, and he wants his father not to surrender and give up to the threat of death which is about to come and cover him up. And in this session, we are learning the critical appreciation of the poem. Let us understand the background, the poet Dylan Thomas as a person. We let us also understand the main theme, the purpose of the poem, and the analytical viewpoint of the poem in this session. First, the background of the poem. The poem was written in 1947 when Dylan Thomas was in Florence with his family. It was published in the journal in 1951, and this poem was written for the sick, dying father. Dylan tried to give him some encouragement to hold on and not to lose hope. Now, coming to the poet Dylan Thomas as a poet, he is regarded as the most famous Welsh poet and one of the most important English poets of 20th century. Dylan started writing poetry when he was a teenager. He is also known for his radio broadcasts at the BBC. Dylan gained immense popularity for his love of wordplay and for how he wrote about Wales. Philip Larkin once wrote about him, no one can stick words into us like pins like he can. So that was his capacity of arranging and ordering words, which was exceptionally good with him. He struggled a lot with poverty and an unhappy marriage. He fell prey to alcoholism and died a premature death at the age of 39. This poem was written for the sick, dying father. Now, coming to the main theme of the poem, as I explained to you in the previous session of the same poem, the main theme of the poem is that one should not surrender to death in a meek and gentle way. Rather, we should resist it with all our efforts. We should, as long as we can, with the power of will, struggle to overcome the fear of death. In the first stanza of the poem, Dylan Thomas asks his father not to give in to death. In the next four stanzas, the poet speaks about why and how all kinds of people, wise men, good men, wild men, and grave men, try to defy death. And in the final stanza, he again asks his father to rage means fight against the dying of light like everybody else. Now, the poem itself is a indication that his Dylan Thomas is instilling, motivating his father to keep hopes and not to surrender to the idea of death. The title of the poem says, Do not go gentle into that night. So, that night is death night. Is just the first line and title of the poem. This itself speaks the main theme of the poem. The title itself makes the poet's message clear. The imperative sentence simply instructs us not to go gentle into the realms of death. Now, coming to the purpose of the poem, what is the message which comes of the poem? It The readers and critics feel that this poem can apply not only to death or old age, but also to any kind of adversity we face. So it is not critical situation. It is not mere death, but various kinds of critical and adverse situations where human beings have to keep hope. We should continue to struggle against the odds we face on our way of life. Moreover, as the poet himself was struggling to survive due to bad health, alcoholism, and poverty, the poem applies to both Dylan Thomas and his father. ಸೊ ಈ ಪದ್ಯದಿಂದ ಹೊರಬರುವಂಥ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಏನಂದರೆ, ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ ಸಾವಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಕಷ್ಟಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ತೊಂದರೆಗಳು ಎದುರುಗೊಳ್ತವೆ. ಅಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಭರವಸೆಯನ್ನು ಕಳ್ಕೋಬಾರ್ದು. ಸೊ ಬರೀ ಡೈಲನ್ ಥಾಮಸ್ ತಂದೆಗಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಡೈಲನ್ ಥಾಮಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನು ಎದುರಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದ. ಮದುವೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಕುಡಿತದ ಚಟಕ್ಕೆ ಒಳಗಾಗಿದ್ದ, ಮತ್ತು ಬಡತನವನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದ, ಮತ್ತು ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬಂದವು. ಇದೆಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ ಅವನ ಹೋಪ್ಸನ್ನು ಅವನು ಮರುಜೀವ ಕೊಡಲಿಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಪದ್ಯವನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಆ ಪದ್ಯದಿಂದ ಹೊರಹೊಮ್ಮುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾನ್ಸಾ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ದ ಥೀಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪೋಯಮ್. ಮೊದಲನೇ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾನ್ಸಾದಲ್ಲೇ ಟೈಟಲಲ್ಲೇ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ತಂದೆಗೆ ಭರವಸೆ ತುಂಬುತ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂಥ ಸಾಲುಗಳು ಇವು ಅಂತ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಪೋಯಟ್ ಟ್ರೈಸ್ ಟು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಡೆತ್. ಈಗ ಎರಡನೇ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾನ್ಸಾಗೆ ಬರೋದಾದರೆ, ಬೈ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ರೆಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆತ್. ಸೊ ಹೀ ಸೇಸ್ ಫೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಸ್ಟ್ರಗ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಎಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆತ್ is not an individual or an exceptional case. Everybody generally, ordinarily, commonly, everybody fights against death. It includes all kinds of people: wise men, wild men, good men, grave men. All kinds of people fight against death. So first stanza, he talks about the main theme of the poem. In the second stanza, he talks about wise men who are generally scholars and philosophers. So wise men ಅಂದರೆ ಜಾಣ ಜನರು, ಬುದ್ಧಿವಂತ ಜನರು. ಅವರು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ತತ್ವಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಕಾಲರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆಲ್ ನೋ ದಟ್ ಡೆತ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ಎವಿಟಬಲ್. ಸೊ ವೈಸ್ ಮೆನ್ ನೋ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಈಸ್ ರೈಟ್. ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಈಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಪದ ಪದ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಈಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಾವು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯ. Death is inevitable, is compulsory, it is common. But their wisdom has neither made death any easier nor prepared them to accept the reality of death easily. Their words had forked no lightning. ಅಂದರೆ ಆ ಪದಗಳು, ಅಂದರೆ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಕೆಟಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಪದಗಳು ಪದ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಸಾಲುಗಳು. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವರು ಬುದ್ಧಿವಂತರಾಗಿದ್ದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಪದಗಳು, ಅವರ ಜಾಣ ನುಡಿಗಳು ನೋ ಲೈಟ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬೆಳಕನ್ನು ಪ್ರಪಂಚಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವರು ಸಾಧಿಸಬೇಕಾದದ್ದು ತುಂಬ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ, ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಫೋಕ್ಡ್ ನೋ ಲೈಟ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ದ ವೈಸ್ ಮೆನ್ ಕುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸಿ ದೇರ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಎನಿ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ಚೇಂಜಿಂಗ್ ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರಪಂಚವನ್ನು ಬದಲಾಯಿಸುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಪರಿಣಾಮ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಫೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆತ್ ಟು ಡೂ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್. ವೈಸ್ ಮೆನ್, ಬುದ್ಧಿವಂತ ಜನರು, ಏನನ್ನಾದರೂ ನಾವು ಕೊಡುಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವ ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ನಾವು ಜಾಣರು, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ದಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಗಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫೈಟ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆತ್. ದೆನ್ ಹಿ ಟಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಗುಡ್ ಮೆನ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಗುಡ್ ಮೆನ್, when they are on the deathbed, they feel that whatever aims, goals, aspirations they had in their life have become frail deeds. ಅಂದರೆ ತುಂಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಜನರು ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರು ನಮ್ಮ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯತನದಿಂದ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಹೋಗೋಣ ಅಂತ. ಆದರೆ ಸಾವಿನ ಹಾಸಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಲಗಿದಾಗ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕನಸುಗಳು, ತಾವಂದುಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಂಥ ಕನಸುಗಳು, ಭರವಸೆಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಫ್ರೈಲ್ ಡೀಡ್ಸ್. ಫ್ರೈಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಕೆಟಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಪದ ಪದ್ಯದಿಂದ ಆರಿಸಿರೋದು. ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ವೀಕ್ ಡೀಡ್ಸ್, ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿರುವುದೆಲ್ಲ ಏನೂ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನ ಇಲ್ಲದ ಕೆಲಸಗಳು ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಆ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಸಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾಗ, ಶೌಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕೂಗ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ, ದಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಫೇಲ್ ಡೀಡ್ಸ್ ಮೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬೀನ್ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ಫುಲ್. ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಉಪಯೋಗವಾಗುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಸಮ್ ಮೋರ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಟು ಲೀವ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸಮ್ ಮೋರ್ ಆಪರ್ಚುನಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಲೀವ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ಫ್ಯೂ ಮೋರ್ ಇಯರ್ಸ್, ಫ್ಯೂ ಮೋರ್ ಟೈಮ್ to live and do something good to the world. So they also rage against death and try to live longer. So ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಜನರು ಕೂಡ ಹೋರಾಟ ನಡೆಸ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. Then he talks about the wild men. Wild men andre people who enjoyed their lives, like ಸನ್ಲೈಟ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಫ್ರೆಶ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಸೋಮಾರಿತನ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ದೀಸ್ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಮೆನ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸೆಲಿಬ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಂಜಾಯ್ಡ್ ಲೈಫ್ಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಮೊಮೆಂಟ್. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಮೂಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಎಂಜಾಯ್ ಮಾಡಿರುವಂಥ ಈ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಜನ ಕೂಡ ಅಟ್ ದರ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆತ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟಲ್ಲಿ that they have wasted their precious time, grieved it on its way. ಸೊ ಗ್ರೀವ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಗ್ರೀವ್ ಅಂದರೆ ದೇ feel sad that they have not done anything to this world, but it gets too late by then. That is why they want to stay here for some more time by putting up a fight against death. So they think whatever we have done all these days is a waste of time, so at least now onwards let me do something useful to this world. So with this intention they also want to live a few more time and they struggle against death. Then he talks about the last group of men called grave men. Grave andre people who are serious, that are serious about lives, that they want to achieve something, they want to produce something, they want to contribute something to this world. So serious people, they think that life is like this and they have to lead this kind of a life, an orderly, structured, disciplined kind of life, are serious people. Serious people also maybe sick and dying people. So grave includes all such meanings. So no problem. Even those meanings can be taken. And then the poet says that even when they are near death and lose their eyesight, so intha grave serious people kuda, they feel strong in their mind. So even on the death point they say, no, I'm not going to die, because that they have the passion within to pursue happiness. They also want to contribute to the world in a more serious way. So they are also fighting against death. In the last stanza, when all the people, all types of people, all kinds of people are struggling, fighting against death to live a purposeful, productive, pleasant life in the future, why is he losing hope? Why is he surrendering to this dying situation? That's the question he asks in the last answer to his father. Dylan begs his father to cry passionately in order to express and lighten his sadness. That will be both a curse and a blessing for the poet. Probably Thomas means to say that seeing his father cry would be heartbreaking for him. So at the last stanza, he sees his father who is crying, thinking that he is about to die. So this kind of a helpless situation, this kind of a helplessness, he is not able to digest, he is not able to stand. So he asks his father that let you fight against all odds of death rather than submitting it. So you fight against all odds and don't submit to death is the last message which he gives to his father. So with this, I'll complete the critical appreciation of the poem. Along with this session, you are also given MCQs, you are given notes, and you are also given the PPTs. I think it will be helpful to you to understand the poem. Thank you all. Thank you very much.